Always forget to turn the sound off. Shit.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. I know you guys, I was out last week with Frost. I'm going to be out next Saturday as well. Um, she graduates, so I'll be at her graduation next week. So once all this graduation stuff with Frost is over, I'll be back to normal. So thanks for bearing with me. I try to continue to put out content, putting out shorts, putting my videos out. So please go check that out. But the live streams will kick up here, resume right around the end of May. So bear with me. There's a lot happening in our world right now. Let's go say hi to everybody. Siren, Mad Stacker, good to see you. Thank you guys for being so supportive of the channel. Acadian, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Appreciate you being here. Scotty Aquati, good day. Hope you're well. Obviously, I have Paula and Eric online. Good morning, YouTube. How are you?
Good morning.
Happy almost Mother's Day.
Yes, tomorrow
Happy
is
Saturday.
Mother's Day. That is true. Mark
Yep,
Lewis,
tomorrow
good
is
day.
Mother's
Hope you're doing well. What's
For all
going
you
on, Steve?
dudes out there who forgot, you're welcome.
Yeah, you're right. It's exactly right. Yeah. Hey, Jack, good day. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, Jeff. So today's going to be a little bit of fun. Now, I told Paula what we're doing. Eric doesn't kind of understands what we're doing. We got talked about it a little bit. I have a number of images, and so Paula and Eric are going to have to refrain themselves. Most of this is going to be targeted to chat. We're going to leave some time for you guys to look at these items. The whole premise for doing what I'm doing today is education. It's to help you guys look at information and start to ask some critical questions. How could this happen at the US Mint? And the entirety of this is to get you to start thinking about, is there any way what I see in front of me could have happened at the US Mint? Or even if it happened after the strike, right? Is it damage or is it truly an error? We're going to be talking about these. We'll be going into some of this in depth. We'll be talking about why this happens. And the basic premise of this is, if you guys have been on social media and you've been looking for any length of time, you've probably seen posts that say, hey, look at this coin. I found this in my granddad's collection. Hey, check out this coin. It was sitting on my mom's desk. Hey, I purchased this at a coin shop. Is it real? And they're all designed, not all of them, many of them are designed to gain insight and information on that so that they can make them better. The other live stream isn't working. I don't know what that means. Hold on just a second.
Maybe she means your portrait.
Portrait, yeah.
I have had problems with that lately, so let me go look and see.
Yeah, last time it didn't even stream on your portrait side at all.
They might have done away with the ability to do the dual streaming on the same platform.
The other link isn't showing occasion.
Let me go check this real fast.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope you guys are having as beautiful weather as I am.
Oh, it's been glorious here, and we're going to get rain.
Well, I'm okay now. We've had several really nice days. If we have a day here and there of rain, I'm okay with that. We had like 12 years of rain solid.
Yeah, we're a foot short right
like
now.
That. I feel like I should have built an ark.
It's crispy dry here. There's wildfires starting all over and everything.
That's not good.
Yeah, so once again, I think they've removed the ability to do the multi-stream. I'm not sure if it's something that's happened with my channel, but it looks like that's not going to work. I've set it up a couple times. Maybe they've stopped doing that. They have made some changes in the long format. Maybe they stopped that, but I'll have to go through and I'll have to adjust that. So I'll quit. It's just, I'm going to have to just stream in one now. So, which is fine. Not a big deal.
Good morning, Nana. Good morning, everybody. Check Stacker. Good morning.
Hey, vote for Pedro, Farmer Stacker. Check. What's going on? Thank you all for being here. I'll have to go to, let me do this.
Pedro's, they've got a Wounded Warrior coming up, don't they?
Yeah, here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Vote for Pedro if you'd like to drop some information on that. Feel free, brother. I know that's coming up. We've got there's a lot of stuff. They got a monster set of items in this. And the Blue Angels have already matched, I don't want to say $10,000.
I love that so much. I love it so much.
They've done an amazing job. The people who support this and it's just been it's an amazing process. So they've done really well with that. So Pedro, if you want to drop any information, feel free to do so.
Good morning, Bell 457.
I did do there's going to be a special little piece commemorating John Howe, and I wrote that, and I'm going to be doing that. That'll be something, because as you guys know, we call this the John Howe Memorial Wounded Warriors thing, because he was all about that. And so I wrote a little something from John, tying into some of the jokes and the stuff that him and I used to talk about being a vet. And because I'm a disabled vet, all is a disabled vet. We're not wounded warriors, right? Wounded warriors is people that got wounded in combat. And
that was me.
You were wounded in combat?
I did. I'm service connected.
No, not service connected, in combat.
Well, and I wasn't shot. I was in a combat zone and I was wounded. I wasn't shot at. I didn't lose a limb. I am not, don't get me wrong, I am not equal to those people. I am not trying to say I am. No.
Yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of people are like, I want to be very clear. I'm not a wounded warrior. I'm a disabled vet, right? It's definitely different. These are the people that were front lines. Now I deployed, but again, my injuries were sustained inside the skin of the ship. I mean, it wasn't, I didn't have anybody lobbing holy hand grenades at me, or I didn't have people trying to do IEDs and stuff like that. I was about to say IUDs. That's something totally different.
That's another topic.
Oh, speaking of that, I'll have to talk with you about this later. About one of the medical advents that has come out regarding that. That's interesting. Medicine is amazing. All right. Well, enough kind of oddball chit chat stuff. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Let's get into this.
I hope I can at least watch for a little bit. Memorial weekend is a busy weekend here, so
yeah, I fully get you. All right,
Lamara.
Say again.
What did she call it, Lamara? What kind
Memorial
of
weekend?
Oh, all right.
Memorial weekend.
Memorial. I got you.
Yes.
All right. So what we're going to do is and again, Paula and Eric, you guys are going to have to do the refraining. It's going to be easy for you to want to say what it is. But what I want to do is I want to really open this to chat. And I want to, is it Steve's birthday? I don't think it's Steve's birthday.
Happy birthday to
is it
you.
Steve's
Happy
birthday?
To you.
I can
Happy
check. Hold on just a second.
Happy birthday.
I've got his birthday
you.
in my phone.
And many more on channel 4 and Scooby Doo on channel 2.
Okay.
You're a May baby.
It is Steve's birthday today.
Aw, thanks, Pedro. What a guy. That's awesome, though. I get free
Tim, happy
Applebee's.
birthday, Steve. Looking for silver. Yeah, it is his birthday. I had to.
Free
There's so many
Applebee's.
people that say happy birthday, and it's not people's birthday. People do
know.
it to me all the time, but yeah, happy birthday, bud. Yes, it is Steve's birthday. Well, congrats. You made it having to deal with Oregon, so it's proof that you're
Excuse
resilient.
me.
All right, well, let's do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at this. Hey, Sorcerer Stan, good morning, brother. We're going to be looking at coins like this, and what I want the chat to do is I want you to tell me yes or no. Damaged, yes or no. Error, and if you say it's going to be error or you say it's going to be damaged, tell me why you think so. We're going to be having discussions about each one of these coins, and I've got very specific information laid out on another screen you guys can't see about who I took these images from and what actually this is. So I have all the information located here. But I want you guys to look at these things and tell me what you think. So, nickel struck on a cent planchet. Jack Riley.
Hey, Jack Riley, I have a question for you. You see this post on Facebook. What's the first thing you ask? Anybody in chat?
Yeah, does I don't know work? Absolutely, Acadian. If you don't know, but here's the thing. Take a guess. Exactly, Jack.
Attaboy.
Yeah, exactly. How much? What is the weight?
How much? What is it worth? Should I get this graded?
All right, so we got a couple different answers coming in. And again, I want to be very clear. Yes, there's a wrong answer. However, in this setting, there are no wrong answers. There's only opportunities to learn. Okay. And I don't say that as well, you can say this and you're not wrong. There are wrong answers. But in this particular setting, the only reason I say that is because I want people to understand that if you're wrong, it's just an opportunity to learn. So I don't want people to hold on just a second. Sorry about that. I don't want people getting stuck in the mindset of, well, I don't want to look foolish. Okay. Looking at these and trying to identify whether it's an error, whether it's damage. Tell us why you think what you think, because only when we have that information can we teach you why it is what it is. So we've got quite a few people in here. Jack Riley, I'm not an error guy. I'm just guessing.
You do pretty good, Jack.
So Paula, why don't you let me know what you think this is?
Well, so I'm going to assume that we have got the weight on this, and it looks like it's probably like a 1979. So I'm going to assume that it probably weighs 3.1 grams. I would, and looking at it, looking at the weakness in the letters, the flatness, and the metal flow, I'm going to say that this was struck on a cent planchet. Actually, I'm going to say it was struck on a cent blank because it doesn't look like it was a planchet yet.
It doesn't look
typically these are struck on blanks. They have not gone through the upset mill yet. Sometimes they can be. And I think it has some probably feeder damage. I think it was probably damaged during the ejection process.
What about you, Eric?
I concur with her.
You're wise too. So what this is, and this was taken courtesies of John Sullivan out of Error Ref. This is actually a 1980.
Sure looks like a 79.
I know it looks like a 79, but it says 80. It is a nickel struck on a cent planchet. But it exhibits pre strike damage, and this is damage that
Could be
occurred
pre-strike.
to this particular planchet prior to the strike. And
It could
so
be.
it's part of the error. And so this was pulled off of ARF. So this is where I pulled this particular one. But again, when you look at the details, Paula was exactly right with asking the question, what would be the number one thing that you ask for? And the number one thing that they did when they did this was the first thing that they put out was the weight. Because that's going to tell you. And I have, let me find my little.
Now understand that feeder damage happens in and out of the press.
Fact.
So without having this in hand and actually being able to see the flow into that, how they would determine whether it's pre or post is the metal flow into the defect. And I can't tell from the photos whether the metal flow is going into the defect or not.
So I have this
So
little
that's probably
chart
how they
here.
determined it, but I'm sure that is feeder damage.
I have this little chart here, and this little chart shows
Why is it not a planchet?
all the weights of your circulating cornage.
Cornage.
Talks about the various years, talks about the various weights and things like that. Something like this is really important when you're looking at this because it's just a great resource. And I keep this inside of my scale. So I just keep this posted right there, and then it's always there, and I always have it as a reference. It's a neat little piece. So when you're doing this, and Paula's exactly spot on. Good job with the guess.
No, I would buy
Jack
this
Young.
CAD roll hunter. Absolutely. If I had the money, I would buy it. I would not have the money to buy this because this is an expensive error. And it really doesn't matter that little bit of damage, whether it's pre or post. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a little bit of damage, even post striking damage on these. But the error in and of itself is a scarce error.
Yeah. So CAD roll hunter. Again, there are things to look at. Even when you ask somebody online for the weight, there are things about looking at the scale and making sure the hold button isn't on. So you make sure they didn't put a proper one, push hold, and then they stick this on there. There are little tips and tricks that you need to do when you look at photos to make sure that things are authentic. And Paula, we've talked about that quite a bit in the past. Regarding, look at the picture and what do you see? And then in the upper right-hand corner, you see the word hold because they've put a proper plancha, they put a proper coin on there, they push the hold button, and then they put another coin on there and say, look, and they do this a lot with trade dollars. That's one of the things that when I found my 1873 trade dollar that was a counterfeit, that's exactly what they had done. Didn't notice it until after the fact that I was brand new to the hobby at that time. And didn't know to look for it. And it wasn't until after the fact that I went back through and was like, oh crap, I totally missed this.
Jack, the problem with thickness and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Interrupted you. The problem with testing these for thickness and diameter is that it's not always the same. So that's not going to be a great test. Really the weight, this is not on a nickel planchet. You would have to do there would be a lot more missing detail on this if somebody filed this, even if it toned a copper color or whatever. There would be a lot more missing detail to get it from 5 down to 3. There would be a lot more. They would have to do a lot more filing and stuff. Plus, you'd look at the edge and you'd see filing marks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty easy one to. I'm actually having a debate on somebody on Facebook about a nickel struck on a cent blank right now. Yeah, anyway, he's not convinced that it is, and I am convinced that it is. So
yeah, Pedro, this is part of the reason that I'm doing this. And this is one thing. You guys look at the shorts. that I've had on my page. You guys have looked at the things that I'm doing with talking about, supporting Jack Young, Jack Riley in their effort to do this, talking with them, showing some of the images, um, referencing people over to Livecoin, making sure people go back and look at those items, constantly talking. We talked about this morning, actually, about things like overlays and how Amanda is really good and has done thousands of them to help people learn and to look at those various resources. But the reason that it's so important to look at these items is because there's so many fake listings out there.
Right, Eric.
And there's so many social media listings out there that are, hey, what is this? What is this? What is this? That it's important that you guys look at this stuff and understand and can look at this and ask some critical questions. So this is all in education. All right, let's go to this one. This is a fun one. Notwithstanding the fact that I would love to have an authentic coin that looked like this.
Yeah.
Jack Riley just
I like the spiked chin.
Pedro.
I like the spiked chin.
Jack Riley, genuine spiked chin.
Mm-hmm. She's a beaut, Clark.
I love that statement.
I have a t-shirt that says that. What's he saying? It's on a different instead of a penny. I don't know what you're saying. You mean the nickel, Bill? No, I said it's on a blank instead of a planchet. So, the blank, a planchet is just a blank with an upset rim. It's been through the upsetting process. And I'm not saying that typically when it's struck on a planchet, you can still see some of that upset rim. Not always. Sometimes it does get totally flattened out. But I think as a rule, the majority of those are struck on blanks.
Yeah, Mark Lewis, I just did a short on that. I scanned a W mint quarter. It told me it was Philadelphia and that it was worth, $3. Yeah, they're terrible, right? And they fool people all the time. Don't trust those coin apps. Not to say they're not. Every once in a while, you might not get something right, but it's the same with AI. You've got to go to sources that are reliable and validate them. Eric and I talked about this when we first got on this morning about do your own research. Well, you can find what you want. You got to be careful. So you got to know good resources when you look it up.
Yep, you've got to know what you're looking at because there is information out there. You can find any answer you want if you dig deep enough.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I actually was doing a little bit. I've been slacking, but I was helping Matt with they have a coin bot, the Coin Show podcast on their Facebook page.
Yep.
They have a coin bot that they're training right now. And I was helping Matt a little bit. I kind of slacked off on it, but it was fun to do.
I've done a couple of them, but yeah. I don't have time. I just don't have time.
Had time.
So Ant asks a really good question. Does it match the known die markers? That's a great question. And Jack Riley again, Paula, they know this coin. The answer is yes. So this is actually an authentic coin. Not only is authentic, it is an Eric coin, and it is affectionately called the spiked chin. Now, this was pulled from PCGS. It is the 1804. It is a draped bust half cent. Fabulous, fabulous piece. But what are those little ridges in front of the neck?
I think that those are probably planchet defects.
Jack, what are your thoughts? What about you, Eric?
Well, it looks like there's gouges by the rim, but under the chin, it could be. I don't know what the reverse looks like. I'm not familiar.
It's not a clash.
It's not a clash. All right.
No.
I would say it's damage.
Hey, me, what's up? Long time no see, brother. Hope you're well.
There are probably some. Jack says it's a marker, so it's dye related. Yeah, I think
Oh,
that
it is
they're
dye
probably.
related. All right.
So
Okay.
that is a great point, right? And
I did
so
not know that.
this is why, and again,
I
this is why I
would,
liked Ant's comment. Doesn't match the known dye markers. Yes, this actually is a dye
I
marker.
would.
Yeah.
Are
So
they raised, Jack? So they must be raised, eh? They don't look raised. That's why I said planted defect. Don't exactly what it is though. So they must be raised. Hub shows. I don't know this quite. Yeah, very cool.
yeah, and again, folks, there's no. It's not that there's wrong answers. The thing is that there's so many potentials for tomfoolery out there that it's just good to start thinking critically. And many of us are not going to get some of these right. Some of us are. But I can tell you, I have a bunch of people in my book that I reach out to and say, "Hey, help me with this." And that is what matters. That's what's going to help you from making some, in many cases, expensive mistakes. And
It's
so
probably the same mechanism that caused the spike on the chin. Probably the
maybe,
same thing that caused those markers, those other markers.
maybe.
Some kind of gouging.
All right, let's go to this one. What do you guys think about this? Same coin, obviously made just a little bit bigger to give you a little bit better view of that edge.
I want to see both sides of this coin.
Yes, me too.
Unfortunately, I don't have the other side of this coin.
Then I can't give you an answer.
I would be a skeptic.
Yeah.
The only reason I know the answer to this coin is because the person actually came back and told us what it was. This was actually on a social media post.
Oh, well, then we know what the answer is.
Yeah. The 40D is a damaged coin. Okay, Ant?
They must have done it themselves, huh?
Well, according to them, they took it to a coin shop to get verification of it.
Well, then they don't know the answer.
Yeah. So.
Well,
They
it's
don't
missing
know the
any
answer.
Blakesley.
And
If
I'm
that,
going to pull something up to show you something real quick.
yeah, trust would be very, very weak if that was a real coin.
Well, no.
Yeah.
So I just want to.
There's Blakesley effects on straight clips.
There can be.
There can
also
be.
And there's right. There's situations where there isn't. Also, I get that, but
well, I want to show you something. Hang on.
that's why I would want to see the reverse of the coin.
Yeah. So, and there's a very specific little element down at the bottom right-hand corner that you get when you use a pair of clippers on a coin. And
Let me show you why I want to see both sides.
There's a little notching on that actually comes from the edge of a pair of clippers. This one's actually been clipped.
Well, that's why I want to show you something.
Right. So pull it up.
Because you're going to learn something new, hopefully. I'll wait for you to pull that up.
Okay.
This is a cutting burr. And typically this shows only on one side of the coin. And so this is why I would want to inspect that coin a little bit better. Because this is not a clip, which I hate the term clip planchet. It's inaccurate. The term in itself, it's inaccurate. The planchet's not clipped. The planchet strip is clipped. The planchet's incomplete. But see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes coins that are cut with tin snips look very similar to this. They leave that ridge. Not the same exact type, but you would see it on both sides on a coin that's cut with a tin snip.
Yeah, like I said, the only reason I happen to know that one is because of the post and the discussion that was happening. Where
Yeah.
did my I have to go back to my
Well, and
presentation.
like I said, if he did it himself, then yeah, he know for sure. If he took
Yeah.
it to a coin shop, then he doesn't know.
Here's
Because
another one. This is a fun one.
I'll let you guys know right now that that is not always the best place to have your coins looked at, just because many dealers don't deal in errors and varieties. They just don't have time.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
But off the cuff looking at it, I would say it was probably altered.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at this one.
Is it supposed to be backwards?
It is. I did not rotate this image. This image is exactly as it was pulled from the source.
Once again, I want to see both sides of this.
Well, you can say that for any coin, period. You
Well,
really
you should,
have
and
photos
you
of
should
both
look at
Yeah.
both sides.
You should look
on
at all
most
three
coins.
sides of a coin.
On most coins, when you are diagnosing, it's like when you go to the doctor, they don't just look at one area. They want to see the whole picture.
So, Ant, the one thing about this is all of these coins are authentic coins. The damage,
Not blockage.
the damage or the error, right, is maybe real. It may be generated, whatever that might be. But the coin itself is. Hey, Bill, have a good one, bud. Thanks for coming in.
Bye, Bill. Have a great day. Bill will probably be streaming later. He usually does on Saturdays. He looks at some coins and just kind of chats with folks. Is the image in Q's? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, and pictures like that can be very deceptive.
Very deceptive. Oh, thanks for putting that up. That'll make Bill happy. He's been in the community a long time.
The image is exactly the way it should be. And again, Paul is right. In order for me to have done this properly, I needed to show you both sides. But the reason that I'm showing you things like this is because these are how they're being displayed on social media. You don't always get both sides of the coin when they're trying to show you stuff like this. You don't always get images that are not blurry. You don't always get images that have clean lines. You don't always get all the images that you need. So it's important that you ask questions. And this is just an exercise in looking at, what's going on. But ask questions. Now, the only reason, like I said, I know these is because I'm the one that went out and I reached out and I grabbed them from various sources. Paul has probably seen this image a whole bunch of times because
I have not.
Because of where I pulled it from. You probably have, actually. You just may not.
I may have, and just probably.
This came from the man who likes to talk.
Oh boy.
Well, that narrows it down.
It should, because it's an inside joke.
Oh, this came from the man.
Let's say this. If this person calls Paula, you can count her out for the rest of the day.
Oh, for crying out loud. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you got to tell me. I don't know.
I do know it's true.
It is
He just
true.
lost his dog and he lost his dog and got his dog back. I'm so happy he got his
Hey,
dog back.
Kevin.
Oh,
He
all
did
right.
find his dog?
He did.
He did
Okay,
find his dog.
good.
Yeah, Foxy. Yes, he had somebody that he found her under a bush with her harness stuck on the bush.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. Mhm.
All right, so I'm not seeing a whole lot of things on here. Paula, what do you think?
Well, if so, this image looks raised. It must not be, because it must be a full brockage.
It is a full brockage.
And that means that even though it looks raised, it would be incused.
It's incused into this. And again, this is where it's important to.
The funny part about that is, as soon as you said incuse, I looked at it and now I can't see anything but incuse.
Like those plates.
Yes. Yes. And I did that the other day, right? We showed those pictures of those plates where they change, or those pictures of those items. And again, your mind wants to make sense of something. And if somebody tells you that this is incuse, now you look at it, you'll see it as incuse. Some people won't be able to. Well, if you don't know what incuse is, it means that it's sunk into the coin. Ah, perfect. Here you go. It's sunk into the coin. So there's two types of items. There's relief, which comes above the surface of the coin. And then there's incuse, which actually is inside. So it's below the surface of the coin. Imagine.
And this is probably, Jack Riley's probably correct. I mean, if you want to be correct in the terminology, I would call this probably a first strike full mirror brockage is what I would call this.
Yeah,
it
so
definitely is first strike.
A good way of doing this, and actually, you know what? Here, hold on. Paula knows what I'm trying to grab. I'm going to share my screen real quick. You can hear this. You know what this is, Paula. You've talked about this. And we've done this exactly for this reason. All right, so let me share my screen real quick.
And for those of you that don't know what a brockage is, it's basically when another struck coin becomes the die.
You guys have seen these, right?
Yes, I love those things. Put your face on it.
There you go. Okay.
That's cool.
So why do I have this? This is a great tool for talking about this. I bought it just for this. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at this, this would be the design element of the coin. And you can see if this was the surface of the coin, then this would be the relief. Okay. Now, when I turn this over, and I got to do this way.
You can't. I know.
Actually, I can't.
I was going to say, how are you going to do that?
Okay. So when I turn this over this way, okay, the one thing that you have to look at is that is incuse.
There you go.
Okay. So you see how it goes. This is the field. And see how it's inside? That's incuse. And so I picked this up specifically for this. And Paula, we've talked about it. I still have to go back and finish that video and redo that. I'm taking it from the die to the coin surface. But that's the difference between incuse and relief, right? And so when you talk about, we go back to this item here and we look at, again, incuse, it means that here's the field, right? Here's the field of the coin.
You could also call that coin a house, because it probably is about the price of a house.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's pretty expensive coin, just like that authentic half cent, that MS66 half cent. That's,
holy crap,
a couple $100,000. But again, so what's important here is, number one, you want to look at the weight, but number two, you actually need to see more than just this, right? And again, we're talking about critical. Now, there is a little bit of damage on this coin If you look at the stars, you'll see those 2 scratches that are there. Those are actual scratches that are on the surface of the
I'm
coin.
okay with that.
Yeah, I would be
Yeah.
okay with that too. But again, this is an authentic error coin, right? This is a full mirror brockage. And so Jack's 3 for 3. Or
Can
4
I
for
tell
4.
you real quick?
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. So if you guys watched that steel scent that we featured like a couple years ago, that was also a full mirror brockage. It went for like $37,000 at auction or whatever. The gal didn't know what she had. Her husband thought it was fake. Her husband put a scratch in it. Thank God the grading companies did not mark that coin down for that little scratch, but he did put a scratch in it because he wanted to see if it was real. I don't know what he was trying to prove by scratching it, like how he thought that would prove that it was real or not, but he did. He put a scratch in that, and somebody may have done this with this coin too. They're
Maybe.
like, is this real?
But do me a favor, don't scratch it.
Don't scratch
Don't
your
scratch
coins.
it. Right? Reach out to somebody and let's chat about it, because you really can take a ton of money away from the value of this coin by doing something like that. So don't do that. All right, let's go to this one. This is a fun one. I've actually found a 58 that looked very similar to this, not quite as substantial. But
one of those in a reveal that was similar to that.
Yeah, really interesting. So what is this?
You want me to tell, or you want them to say?
Let's chat. Let's do chat. We'll give Chad a little bit of time to go through this. You know what makes me happy though?
This one should be easy to get because I got it.
Yeah.
You know what makes me happy, Paula? I got to use my 3-dimensional pin art thing today.
Oh, fun!
I bought it for that very reason. So it's fun to go, yay! And now the Acadian looks at it and goes, now I know what that means. Acadian says lamination coming apart.
Nobody's saying anything.
Come on, you guys.
They're you don't be gun shy.
Yeah,
Say
please.
something.
And again, it's just opportunities to learn and trust your gut. Whatever Jack's like, I'm totally out on this one. That surprises me.
Arcadian Carpenter, laminated, come apart.
So, yeah, let's go ahead. Come on, guys. I want you guys to be talking about this and discussing. Abe had a rough night. Yes, Abe had a rough night. Yes, this is a lamination. So let's talk about
retained lamination.
Retained.
Retained.
That's the important piece, and you can see it's pretty significant. But this would be a fun one to find. My gut says it looks like it got caught in a roller or pinched. Now, again, right? So why is this not damage? Or is this damage?
It is not damage.
Well, but I'm asking why.
Oh.
Well, it's not damage from the minting process. It's damage during the
Actually, you know what? Let me do this. Let me ask a better question. What type of error is this? And I'll give you a clue. PDS.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before. You've heard it on Coin Show Podcast. You've heard it Live Coin Q&A. You've heard it with us. What's PDS? What type of error is this? And if anybody says Philadelphia, I'm going to beat you because it's not Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Jack Riley says planchet error.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right. So planchet, die, or strike. Those are the 3 classifications of errors. So when you're looking at this, it's important to understand which one you're looking at. This is a planchet issue. And so, Paula, you want to talk a little bit about how or what might have occurred on this one?
So oftentimes you see these when you see improper alloy mix sense also. They kind of can go hand in hand, but it's typically a impurity in the alloy
Yeah, I think they
before the
call it
planchet is even like created. It's some type of impurity in the
inclusion.
alloy.
Yeah, within it. I think that's the
Yeah.
term they use.
So remember that when they create the sheets of metal, these sheets of metal are folded and they're run through a press and they're flattened out into these monster sheets and then put into rolls. There's going to be imperfections in those sheets. And when this went through the blanking process and this blank was cut out, there was probably a fairly decent lamination that went through that sheet. And so when this blank was done, it just happens to hold this. Now, what's the worst thing you can do? Paula and Eric, don't call this out, please. What's the worst
Oh,
thing
I
that
was
you
just
can
gonna
do to
say
this? Yeah.
My fingernails are just twitching.
that is.
Even peel it.
There can
Exactly.
also be, just to let you guys know, there can also be like gas and stuff too that's trapped in there.
Yep.
They know it.
Yeah, don't pick it apart. Don't peel it, right? This is definitely something you want to be careful with. Now, I would highly recommend, and I don't say this a lot because you don't need to put every one of your coin in a flip, but this is probably one you'd want to put in a flip and make sure that it's taken care of, or even put it inside one of your plastic,
Yeah, you want to keep a
little
couple of those
items
together.
and make sure that
Okay.
this is held into place. No problem, Eric. I got a lot of gas bubbles. Oh, I read that wrong. I have a penny with a ton of gas bubbles.
So if it's a copper plated zinc scent, they are probably plating blisters. They're probably plating blisters, and that's usually a reaction between the zinc and the copper. Not necessarily gas bubbles. Like, so solid alloy coins can get what they call occluded gas bubbles, but those happen on the solid alloy. Yeah. Plating blisters are a zinc oxide, I think, or something like that reaction.
Yeah, so but definitely don't pull this apart. And this would be one, and again, I'm not for slabbing or for doing whatever you want with those things. But don't pick it apart, don't pull it, and then try to protect this as much as you can because it's better to have it retained.
It is better.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you maintain that retain. You maintain the retaining.
Maintain the retain.
Yeah, so really cool. This is authentic. This is genuine, and it's just a neat little piece. Like I said, I found
neat.
this at 1958 cents. There's a lot of laminations that occur, and you can find this in 1958 quite frequently. I've found a number of them.
Up until 1963, I think. I think in 1963 is when they took the tin out of the alloy, but is when you find most of your improper alloy mixes.
Yeah. So when you look for these,
laminations.
when you're looking through your coins, again, look at both sides and look closely because sometimes, now this one stands out like a sore thumb, but I have ones that you can see them, but they're still relatively flat. But this one's definitely retained. It's a cool piece.
They look like if you've ever looked at your cuticles when they're peeling, they look like a peeling cuticle. They typically have kind of that little jagged edge. The edges on them are not perfectly straight. Yeah, they look like a little peeling cuticle.
Fun stuff. Cool little piece. How about this one?
Yeah, really fun. Errors are fun, man.
And again, folks, the reason that we're showing these is one, It's fun to look at coins. But when we look at social media posts, and I can't tell you how many I've seen on like Instagram or stuff like that, that's like, hey, I found this in my granddad's collection. What do you think? Or the ones that drive me
Mm,
nuts. And oh my God, it drives me batty. I went to a coin show and bought this coin. Is it real?
mhm.
Why in the hell are you asking that now? Right? Why you already bought it?
Spend a little time on social media sometime in the coin groups, you guys, and you'll understand why I am so bitter. You'll
Yeah.
understand why sometimes I don't have very much patience.
Well, and again, you know,
I
when you're
try.
talking about this, you know, the more you see these, the more you'll start to understand things are the way they are. You'll start to
Yeah,
understand some of that. But it's very important that even if you think you know, you always get second opinions. Go to
absolutely.
somebody who knows, because I'll tell you right now that I have looked at coins. Paula has actually sent me coins and said, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's this." And she's like, "Nope." I'm like, "What? Really? What
I
makes this
test them
difference?"
sometimes.
Right? Well, but it's good. And these are good challenges. And she does it to me. I want to share this with you guys because now she hasn't seen any of these images. She said surprise me when I talked to her about it. Um, but it's important that you guys look at this. So I only have one person saying damaged. I don't have a whole lot of feedback right now. We'll kind of go through these. It looks like the exercise kind of might be done. Doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in it. Paula, what do you think? Or Eric, are you back?
I just got back. It looks like it was squeezed with a pair of pliers.
Sure does.
Yeah.
You say the same thing, Paula?
I do.
Needle nose pliers.
Hmm.
Exactly what it was. It's the same on both sides, but those are needle nose pliers. You can see the
Yeah.
little ridges
You just
inside.
said that. You just said the key words there.
What's that?
Same on both sides.
Yep.
Corresponding damage to both sides typically means 99.9% of the time when you see corresponding damage to both sides of the coin, it's going to be damage because you have two separate dies working together but separate with a planchet in the middle of them.
Yeah, and so,
So you're
when
not
you look at these particular items, the question you got to ask yourself is where in the minting process could something like this have occurred, where the
Mhm.
exact same damage happened in the exact same location on both sides,
Yep.
right? What would have had to have occurred in order for this to have been struck into both sides? Now, when you talk about somebody says it looks like a struck through is not going to happen on both sides in most cases, right? Unless you have, multiple.
Yeah. If they
Uh,
just greased both dies up to start the press, they can be on both sides.
Greece can be the same. Greece
yeah,
can be one of the exceptions.
yeah,
It's still not going to be identical,
yeah,
No, and it will move.
but
Remember that
yeah.
54S roll we had?
Mhm.
It had 40 coins that were greasers from 4 different die pairs, and you could see it moving around within strikes, subsequent strikes.
yeah. So this is most likely somebody took the pair of needle nose pliers, smacked it with a hammer. But the damage is caused by needle nose pliers, according to the
Something would have to
post
be
on this.
wrapped around the planchet
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
be
it would go
struck
from end. Yeah,
Now,
to
I bet
be
here's
you could
struck
see
something
it in the
on
really.
rim
both
too.
sides.
Mike's not in chat. If Mike was in chat, I would ask him if this looked familiar. Because Mr. Noodleman actually wrote an article about this coin.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Yeah. I have a note on here that says, "Hey Mike, tell me if this looks familiar." This is when he first started writing for one of the some of the articles he used to do. But fun
Fun.
stuff. All right, this is a fun one.
These are all fun. I need some coffee.
Go get you some
Okay,
coffee.
I'm going to leave this here for a minute, let people play with it, and then I'm going to go grab some coffee. I'll be right back.
What are you guys thinking? Damaged, error, and again, if it's damaged, then what do you guys think it is? And if it's an error, how do you think it occurred? Hey, Jack, thank you for spelling vice correctly. That would have triggered Paula, by the way. Can't stand it when people spell vice wrong.
Oh, you mean it doesn't? Isn't it spelled VICE?
No, it's VISE.
She comes back into the room. She's like, trigger.
VICE is something that, like, you have a vice. Like, oh, I love coffee. It's my vice.
I know.
Like
I
Miami.
know.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. It's not
I
VICE.
gotta remember that one.
VISE. VISE. They're
can be
two
more
different things.
Yeah, that's funny.
Triggering Paula.
It's like
Oh,
the
boy, is that word that does trigger me.
when I did the short of the dime, you guys will see that later. He sent me something I didn't even recognize. I mean, it's not that I didn't see it. I never put two and two together. And she called me out. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, oh my God, that's funny.
What was funny to me was that there were so many comments. You had several comments and not one person mentioned that. I'm like, is somebody going to mention that?
Yeah, somebody finally did. Somebody finally did say that, but sorry, not awake. I would be guessing some kind of error. Okay.
No, not really spelling person. I'm not really the spelling like police. It has nothing to do with spelling. Those are two different words with two different meanings. They sound the same when you say them, but they are two different words with two different meanings. So,
all right. Well, we've got a few people putting some stuff in. Eric, what is your call on this one?
Hold on. I would say it's damage. Vice job.
Vice job.
With the C.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely a vice job.
Vanessa.
So what are the key tells here? Let's talk about how you can tell that this is a vice coin.
Well, you can see the arbor on the reverse where the vice was actually tightened down so tight it made a mark on the reverse. The flat area going through the wheat up to pluribus is the top edge of the back of the vice or the front of the vice. We don't know.
Well, you have a backwards incused image with a full design rim.
There's the key right there, the design rim. Yep.
And if this were double struck or whatever, it would be on both sides. But you have a fully formed design rim squeezed into that coin.
And that's good. That's the major key right there, is the design rim. Now, obviously, what Eric said on the right-hand side, you're looking at the vice lines. That's kind of a tell. But there are ways to get away from those lines appearing. They could have actually put and made a sandwich out of this and done it into two different pieces. So the vice lines themselves don't always give that away. But that design rim is a very important piece to identifying that this is a vice job.
As is the backwards incused lettering.
Liberty across his face. Yeah.
You can have a brockage, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. So this was listed as a double struck coin, and clearly you're not going to have a reverse incuse Liberty on a double strike. There's no way that could have happened.
No, because a double struck coin is going to be double struck with the same die everything in the same direction.
Yep, exactly. The only way this would have happened is if it was double struck between a die and a hub.
Well, yeah.
I think I'm being facetious, but anyway, yeah,
I know.
definitely a vice job. All right, what about this one?
BISE.
BISE, yes. Hey, Nana, how are you?
Good morning.
Paula, did I tell you
Morning.
Nana sent me a gift?
Yes, I saw. I saw the varieties that she sent you.
Maya Angelou doubled earring,
I
1998
saw that.
wide AM. He sent me a what is it?
That was very
The-
sweet.
Actually, I think there were two. Zitlaka saw the braid on the right side is doubled. A couple of really cool coins. Very
Cool.
nice. I've got to get them. But Nana, I do want to let you know. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys this later. The plastic flips that you have are PVC. So
Oh boy.
you want to make sure that you're
Bueno.
getting the harder ones because these are PVC. These will eventually damage.
Yeah.
So
They do make soft ones that are non-PVC, but they do say short-term storage only.
yeah, and when they talk about short term, they're talking short term, like 90 days.
Ones that say archival, good for archival purposes.
Yeah. What I normally do is if I get a bunch of coins from Copper Coins, when I'm doing the Copper Coins things and I have, like 50, 68s or something like that, I'll put them in a tube and then I'll keep their flips because their flips are the long archival ones. So.
Good morning, everybody. I don't know how many people are here.
Budget era gas bubble. If I recall correctly, this one is dateable. There's a catalog pre-cud. Yes.
Really?
Because of the die markers. This is also taken from
well, that's cool. That's the only, so I want to just say something that is not a real popular opinion with some people. Unless there is a cud that goes along with a retained cud, I would never call it a retained cud. You cannot prove that there is a cud that is retained on the die. Up until the point where it actually breaks out and becomes a cud, it is a rim to rim die crack. Period. Because deep die cracks can also cause die shift. So that is not I used to think that was a telltale of a cud being retained. That is not a telltale of a cud. It does not mean that piece of that die has completely broken away. For it to be a cud, considered a cud, that piece of that die has to it can be still retained, but it has to be completely broken away from the die. And you can't prove that unless you see the die in your hand or there is a cud to match it. So I just want to put that out there. When you see retained cud or pre-cud, really there, and I'm not saying don't continue to use that term or whatever, if that, like, whatever floats your boat. I'm just saying, to me, that's a very inaccurate term because it cannot be proven.
Great insight.
Put that up. And it probably makes sense to you guys if you think about that.
Does anybody not understand what she's mentioning?
A cud, to clarify for people that don't know what a cud is a piece of a die at the edge where the field meets the edge of the die, where that piece is broken away. So it's like the part where the field meets the rim. Some people call it the rim gutter, the rim of the coin. It's where a piece of that die has broken away. So CUD is not an acronym, Pedro. Don't ask me. I have no clue. Nobody knows why they started using the word
I
CUD.
was thinking the same thing when he asked that. Where did
But
that
nobody, it doesn't stand for anything. It's not an acronym. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just maybe somebody thought it looked like something a cow chews. I don't know, but it does not stand for anything. It's just a term that's been used forever for that piece for a die break at the edge of the die. And so it's not called a CUD until that piece of the die has broken completely away and is missing. Up until then, people will call rim to rim die cracks retained CUDs because they're assuming that at some point it will become a CUD. Well, nobody knows that. Nobody knows if it's going to become a CUD because it can stay that way until they quit using the die.
Yes, Pedro, you can use it for Scrabble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The design CUD was first issued in 1969 by specialist Morton,
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Goodman. All I can find on it, but
I found some little thing that I didn't believe too much, that they say
Sorry,
that it is
Aquadian.
related to the term that they use for cows. They always leave food in their mouth and they call it cud.
That's what I said. Unless they
Yeah.
somehow thought it looked like a piece of what a cow chews. I don't know why they
That was
started
the only
calling
thing
it.
I saw, but there was no
Yeah.
definite reference to it.
No. Bye, Jack. Have a great day.
See you later.
Have a good weekend.
Enjoy yourself. Thanks for playing the game. That was fun.
Thanks for playing.
All right.
Yeah, so any other questions on retained CUDs and anyway.
Let's do this one. This one will give
That is
Paula
a CUD on the screen.
What do you guys think about this one? Sorry, the image is horrible. Unfortunately, that's what I had to grab.
Those look like two different coins.
Say again?
Those look like two different coins. I'll explain after when people answer. Because I think they're two different things.
So they were put in by the same person, but they are two different coins.
Okay. Yeah,
but it's the same person.
Two different things.
Yeah.
And I'll explain it afterwards when I tell people.
Well, we're getting pretty good marks. Saw marks, file marks, knife cuts.
Well, I'll tell you what I think they are.
Shop class. Yeah. It could have happened in a shop class. Somebody had a lot of time on their hands. This is definitely not a mint error. Go ahead, Paula.
So the full coin photo on the right is pretty classic of a coin, and so when you're describing damage, it's nearly impossible to know exactly what caused the damage unless you were there when it happened. So most of the time, people are just like, I typically just tell people it doesn't matter how it happened. It didn't happen during the minting process, so it's just damage. But the coin on the right looks like it was pressed into some type of bezel, like a jewelry bezel or a good luck, one of those good luck coins or whatever. Oftentimes, if the bezel has any type of design on the inside of it, it will take on that design when it's pressed into it. The one on the right looks like it was caused by a crimping machine from a mint set when they crimp that cello. I have a photo of that, but they oftentimes the coin will get caught between the crimper and the cello, and it'll take on these like tooth marks. And that's pretty typical, what the one on the left looks like when it's caught between a crimping machine.
So would you say you had one
and just
damaged?
Because it happens at the mint does not make it a minting error. It's still damage.
There you go. And that's what I wanted to get to. So it didn't matter where this occurred, it's damage.
Yeah.
And that's something that happens a lot. And we hear this, and I know Paul and I have talked with people regarding ejection doubling and the fact that it's doubling and it happened at the mint, therefore it's an error, and that's not true. And we know that people have actually sold those as double dies because there's doubling on them and they happened at the mint. So this is a mint doubling. And that's how they play with that terminology. But that's totally wrong. It's damaged through and through. And so it doesn't matter whether this issue came from the mint or not. That makes never mind. It didn't happen during the strike, therefore it's damage.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, a coin can get from the striking place to where they package it, it can get fall on the floor and get run over by a forklift, and they pick it up and put it back in the hopper. That doesn't mean that it's mint damage because it happened at the mint. That's why I usually use minting error instead of mint error. I usually will use minting error.
It's damage, right? And so
it's damage.
We see this a lot, and you'll see this in tons of social media posts. And that is, well, it happened at the mint, therefore it's a mint error. No, it's not.
No.
People will make up words, the spitting horse, the peeing horse, the leaky bucket, the floating roof, because they want something to appear unique, right? And so if you can say something happens to them at the mint, then it's supposed to be worth more. That's simply not the case. So be careful with this. You can get yourself into trouble. And a lot of people who are trying to deceive you will utilize that. So be careful with that. It's important to understand that. I like this one just because of, well, we'll talk about it in a second, but this one makes me smile.
Someone needs to wash their hands.
Well, their hands are kind of a clue as to what's going on with this coin.
Maybe.
Okay. Honestly, right? Look at the picture. Look at the details. You will find some things in the hand itself that tell you where this took place. Kevin Rose, they hit it with a torch. Okay. Right. And you look at their hands, and what do you see on their hands? You're going to see little metal shavings. You can see it below the left-hand side. You can see it right underneath the second 9. You can see it to the right. You can see little pieces, there are little metal fragments in here. Definitely damaged. But yeah, absolutely. This is something that's been affected by heat. But I like this because, and again, Eric, that's observant. They need to wash their hands. But this gives you a good idea that somebody torched this particular coin.
This is a super common,
very common
alteration.
Thing. Yeah,
super common
form of damage. No, because these are clad coins, and the copper. They have a copper core, and the copper has a different melting point than the nickel clad layer. It will actually melt and form gas and push that clad layer up. Yeah, super common thing to see, and people will do it on purpose, and sometimes there's black on it and sometimes there's not. They will oftentimes clean the black off. And
So
yeah,
I
so
watched a guy. I've actually got somebody. Kevin, you might want to do this. I know you have
yeah, it melts the
some
copper
of
and
this
forms
stuff.
like a gas.
I watched a guy do one of these and show it how easy to do this. How many of you pour silver? All you've got to do is put this in a pair of tongs and hold it upside down over your melting pot. That heat alone will allow you to see this bubbling and stuff in the coin. You don't necessarily have to hit it with a torch, but you can see the melting up top, and you can see that they torch the
Yep.
top a little bit more than the bottom. But yeah, definitely, right. And again, you look at the details on his hands, and you can see that this person has most likely worked in a shop. They're probably standing in a shop while they took this. It's cooled off enough, and they took a picture. Now, was that up for sale? This was actually on a social media post on hold on, let me get the right one. This was on Reddit. And this
Oh,
one
geez.
says, "Hey, I just found this in my shop. What do you think?"
It was
And
between my tongs and over the top of my torch. How did
when I
what the
saw
heck?
it,
It
this
just
actually
appeared.
this coin makes me smile because this is the coin that actually made me go, I need to do something on that, right? Because
That's funny.
like he told you where it happened, and this person, when you look through the comments, they had no intention of deceiving. They were making fun and they were poking fun of all these people that are doing this to try to
Mm.
gain stuff. And if you read through the entire post, this guy is very knowledgeable. He's telling you exactly what's going on and what he did and why he did it for. And it's hilarious. The whole thing makes me laugh.
That's
Um,
funny.
but it's one of those things. Hey, I found this at my shop. And again, right, you'll see this over and over and over on social media. Folks, you need to be careful of this. But they do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're trolls. But number
Yep.
two is you have somebody who's actually looking at creating better and better and better and better altered coins in intention to deceive. And we've seen this on a number of different cases. I'm trying to track some of these with a very specific buyer or seller on eBay. That it's the same coin and they get better and better and better each time. And I'm trying to
Not this
track some of
buyer,
these
so you
items.
know.
Say again?
Says not this buyer.
No, it's not this. Yeah, no. But again, it's just one of those things that I want to share with you guys because it's pretty ridiculous. Let's go to this next one real quick.
Mm. It's crazy looking. It is, Kevin.
All right. My daughter just called me. She's getting ready to leave for her trip, so I had to take a second. So I apologize. It's a scent coaster for a thimble. I like that. Acadian says they damage for something into it, I'm guessing. Looks like it was punched. Anybody else with a guess before I turn this over to Paula? You can hear Paula.
Yeah, her knee is going up and down. Leg shaking.
Yeah. So we did an experiment one time with water pressure and a system. But what are your thoughts on this, Paula?
Well, it's genuine.
It is absolutely
You
genuine.
bet.
And I want it.
So this is actually the holy grail of error coins for me. I would love to own one of these, but these are
except that it's copper plated zinc. That's the only problem I have with this.
Yeah.
Now.
I know.
Yeah. So this is real. This is a very sought after and in many cases a very expensive error coin. And
yes, sir.
This is what I would consider the holy grail of errors. And this is a die cap.
Yep.
And
this is the actual die cap.
Yeah, this is the actual die cap. This is the actual coin that's stamped, probably more than one. But it's a very, very nice specimen of a true die cap. Absolutely, Joseph. Fire away. Ask all the questions that you want. Yeah, that's what I said when I showed this. I knew that Paula's leg would be shaking. Yeah, because this is a beautiful piece.
I'll point one thing out to you guys that will tell you that this is genuine. You cannot duplicate this outside of the mint without completely destroying that reverse design. You would not be able to duplicate this outside of the minting process. So there's your first clue.
And can you explain? And I mean, I know why. I know why, but can you explain why?
Well, yeah, because
actually, wait. No, wait. Chat.
Okay. Huh?
I know you know why. Chat.
Oh, okay. Chat. Yeah. Chat.
Can you tell me why he said that? And I want you just to think about the minting process. We're talking about now think about the name of the error. It is a die cap. Okay. So why could you not duplicate this without totally destroying that piece? How did this happen? And these are the questions you need to ask yourself when you look at some of these things. And because this is fabulous. This is a really neat and expensive collectible piece. But why? How did it occur? And so take a guess and don't
see their wheels turning.
But don't let being wrong. Again, there's the only reason there's a wrong answer is because there's a correct one. But in this one, the opportunity is to learn. And don't be afraid. There's nobody going to be like, oh my God, Pedro, you're so dumb. Oh my God, you're what the, you know, we'll say that for other reasons. Just kidding, Pedro. Right. The die top, the die peeled off. No. So think about, okay. Here. Okay. Let me go through. We're going to do this a different way. And so I want you guys, I'm going to pull this back up again. Right. I got a water bottle. Okay. And this is the cap. Okay. Now let's say this is the die. This is the thing that stamps the coin. And if something gets stuck on there, and then it hits and 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 it hits, it's going to form over top of that die. Right? And so it's going to take on this shape, this cup shape that you see here. That's a die cap. So how did that happen? Well, this, and I can't turn it upside down. Obviously, you could probably still have water in it.
Just screw the cap back on. It gets stuck.
Yeah. But the die is still there, and it's smacking the inside of that. So let's go back and let's pull this back up again. Okay, now I want you to look at the right image. Okay, now, so you see this bam, 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 it's smacking the inside of that coin. And that is stuck to the top of the die. And now you can see, too bad I don't have Play-Doh. Yeah, that's Paula's. That's Paula's medium. She used to use that to do that. You actually have a die Play-Doh set, right, Paula?
Yes.
Yes, she does. She actually, that's actually how she would teach this. You probably have it buried somewhere, but.
Ken Peavy was always good for the Play-Doh.
So, but this is.
Ken Peavy got that from me.
Did he? All right. Hey,
yeah,
I'm good with it. It works.
So this
the story.
If you look at the right,
that to him.
So if you look at the right side of this, that is the part that would have stuck to the reverse die, and it kept getting stamped, and that die just kept making that image cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. Right? It didn't move; it stayed in the same orientation, but the other side, the obverse, was smacking against blanks, and it became the die face that was smacking the other coins. And so you'll see that it picked up some of the obverse elements on the first strike, but then they got beat up as blanks were getting smacked with this other piece, and it basically flattened out.
Thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah, it flattened out the design because it wasn't ever hitting the obverse die. It was hitting the planchets that were coming in and seating in. And so when you look at this, you can explain how this occurred. Then you begin to understand the actual error itself. Just got a new subscriber. Well, thank you so much. So as you look at these particular items, and as you look at these, you see these pieces. Think about how it occurred in the minting process, and that means you need to understand the minting process. This is why we say this over and over again. These are very important things. These are things that are important to understand. That minting process is going to help you understand whether or not what you have is authentic. And then, thank you. I appreciate it. The next one is the one that I did in the short, and this is the last image that I have. Now, I want you to think about all the various images that we've seen thus far. I want you to think of the vice job. I want you to think of the die cap. I want you to think of the retained cut. I want you to think of the heat damage. I want you to think of the dryer coin. Think about all those different elements. And now I want you to look at this coin and tell me, is this a damaged coin, or did this come from the mint? Was this struck this way? Look at both sides and determine. The Acadian.
I would love to go to the mint.
Say again?
You tell me. I said, yeah. I was answering him. I don't know. I would love to go. I would love to go to the mint. But I don't want just like your Jelly Belly factory tour. I want to go inside and
somebody said they're not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
the real detailed tours.
Yeah.
I put in a request and my request was denied. And I put it through some pretty decent channels. My request was denied. I'm putting in another one through another set of channels, but yeah, my request to tour the actual tour of the mint ground, the mint floor was denied. And I didn't even ask to take video. So I'm seeing refresh I must, no problem. That's good, Joseph, no problem at all. Damage, but couldn't figure out the obverse. Mint error. Very damaged, says Ant. Now you're looking at two different things. And remember, when we're talking at this, there's a question that we have. A question that I have, is this even the same coin? That's something that, again, looking at two different images, I would want to know, assuming that it is the same coin.
No, it is.
So
there were 3 coins involved. Remember that.
you just gave them an idea. Well, not really. Actually, you didn't.
Not really.
Not really.
Ideas
Planchets
are
stuck
bad
together. I'll give you guys a little bit more time. This is the one that I actually did the short on. So I want you to think about this. 75 is asking 3 coins. We'll talk about that in a second. But there's some things that you can look at very carefully. Now, I can't zoom in because I'm doing this on presentation. If I was doing it to where I could share my screen, then I could zoom in a little bit and show you very specific details. But what I want you to look at, hey, Ringmaster Ray, what's up, bud? What I want you to look at is I want you to look at E pluribus unum, both of them. And I want you to look very carefully at what you see. We have shown other items that give you an insight as to whether this is an authentic error or not. Now, the one with this one, and this is one that I've taken, again, I've told you that I'm trying to monitor a very specific person on social media and eBay, the same person. This is, let's just say an altered coin. Paula, you want to talk about this? Eric, you want to take a stab first? Well, we already talked about this, but
it's a vice job and damage. I mean, it's damage. I guess that's the best way of putting it. Explaining why it's damaged, it doesn't really matter.
And ultimately, yes, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a vice job. I mean, that is kind of
could be a hammer. It could be hammered.
Chiseled. Yeah, I would say it was probably hammered. The vice job is kind of like the dryer coin term, right? It's just kind of an all-encompassing term where coins have been pressed or hammered or squeezed into each other. Garage job. A lot of people say it's a garage job.
I've heard that actually before.
Had another dime.
In other words, it means it's an altered coin.
Reverse of another dime.
Yeah.
What?
It's an altered coin.
Yeah, it's altered. Had another dime stacked on top, and the reverse of another dime placed on top of the reverse of that dime, with the obverse probably facing the pavement. And it was hammered. It was hammered. It was, yeah. So there were 3 coins involved in this.
So now here's the question, and this is extremely insightful of Paula. Why were there 3 coins involved? Why not just 2? It's a destroyed coin. Yes, that is true, Ray. But again, this is why looking at this and being able to think critically and ask some of those questions. I was hammered once, didn't like it, never did it again.
It could have been 2 coins. It could have been 2 coins. It could have been 2 coins.
But I actually agree with you. I think it was 3. Because of the image on the bottom. If you look at, was most likely that was probably put on, and I don't think it was pavement. I think it was probably like asphalt. And then it was smacked. And then you had the coin or something over the top of it, right? Because you had the coin that made the impression into the reverse of this one. Mm-hmm. And then you either had a coin over the top of it or a piece of wood. But I think
something in between, I would say.
So because you wanted to make sure that
rim on the reverse side is not completely flattened out. So there was something else involved. But
yeah, now the reason that I said that it could be, and I don't know the answer to this, But the reason that I said that it could be two different coins is if you look at the one on the right, it's been beat up. And if they wanted to maintain the inside rim of the coin on the left, they may wanted to shave the outside edge a little bit and take that design rim off so that it didn't mess with the design rim. So you could have had an altered coin that was used to make that strike that fit inside of this other one so that it didn't damage that
there was
rim.
definitely another. So I think that it was a full dime because you can see how spread out on the reverse. You can see how far away the letters and stuff are from the rim. So I think what you're seeing, especially by America there, or on the down, not America, by dime and up, I can't even tell what's what anymore. On the left side there, you can see there's almost like the imprint of another rim. So I think that it was a full coin that was, but who knows, right?
Yeah,
That's all guessing.
The bottom line is
it's
damage, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the reason that we did this exercise today was to kind of give you the opportunity. All right, 75 in pennies. You have a wonderful Mother's Day as well. Thank you for coming in and hanging out.
Bye.
Enjoy your weekend. I'm going to go on live for a little while in the morning. Just to say hi to everybody and do some stuff, but it'll probably be a short one. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for coming in, 75. I appreciate you. But the whole purpose for doing this exercise was to take some time and just kind of go through with you a little bit about some of these items and help to do some critical thinking. There's tons and tons of social media that are out there that are designed and meant to deceive. The purpose behind this, and again, we see this over and over again. Hey, I just found this coin. Hey, I just picked this, or the quarter. Again, I love the quarter because it was pure satire, but it was done in such a way that it made me laugh every time I look at that, right? Hey, I just found this in my shop. Well, I'm sure you did. You probably found it under your torch. But it's these things that's going to help you to look at these things and to think critically. Trust your eye. Now, a lot of people said that a damaged coin was an error. A lot of people said an error coin was damaged. That's good. Because when you were shown why, hopefully that made sense to you and you were able to identify it. We talked about the incuse aspect of things, incuse and relief, right? Hopefully somebody walks away with a little bit more knowledge. And that's all we're trying to do is every time we get together to have 1, 2, 5, 10, 100, 200 people, whatever it might be, walk away with a little bit more knowledge and how they can protect themselves in this hobby. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
So
a good rule of thumb with error coins is if you can duplicate it in your garage, it's probably not an error. Because you cannot duplicate minting errors. It's just not possible. That's what all of those coins that Frostbyte just showed, many of them were people trying to duplicate true minting errors.
Yeah, or manipulate people to think that they were authentic so that they can sell them.
We're seeing more and more people doing things with false dies now, double struck coins and stuff. And although they can be deceiving, there are always telltale signs.
And the big thing here is to remember that none of you were alone in this, right? There's a bunch of people who would love to come together to help answer those questions for you. Send us photos, ask the questions, bring them on Sunday when we talk. If you have those questions, send me stuff and say, hey, I'm going to do this. I normally, because I have multiple screens up and I'm looking at a bunch of different resources, I normally am not looking at my email and checking those things. So you're going to have to let me know if you do that. But come to the table with your questions. Look at some stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that Acadian's been doing on his site is he's got one or two guys that's on Whatnot selling. It's unreal what they're selling. Lack of integrity, right? And
I just got one. Somebody sent me, it might have been T. She sent me a link to a dude on Whatnot that got a big old chubby over something that was nothing and sold it to somebody. And I about came unglued. It was not, yeah, there are some shady characters on Whatnot. Yeah.
you've got to be very careful. Kevin, I have a question. I was given a quarter a while back,
Really?
marked error. Artist initials partially covered. Is that a thing?
What is it?
I wouldn't be able to say yes or no without seeing it.
Error. Artist initials partially covered. Partially covered with what? Gum?
Yeah. Well, but it could be a die break.
So
it could be all sorts of stuff.
It could be the Arizona quarter that has the die chip over the designer's initials. Is it an Arizona quarter? I think it's, or New Mexico. Which one is it with the cactus? Is it Arizona or New Mexico?
New Mexico has the kind of the box. It might be New Mexico.
New Mexico, because there is one known that has and it has
I'll
a
pull it up.
progression of the die chip. It gets bigger and bigger, and it's over the cactus and the designer's initials. So
Arizona.
Okay, then the Arizona quarter. See at the bottom where there's like the designer's initials right by the cactus down there?
I'm pulling it up. Hold on just a second. It's a pretty crappy image. Let me see if I can find. There we go.
And you probably could type in Arizona quarter error with die chip on designer's initials or whatever and find an example.
That one?
It could be that one. Yep. That's the one. There's actually initials underneath there.
Oh, there was.
There was initials under there. So it could be that. Is it that coin?
Yeah.
Even?
So yeah, there's if this is the coin, then yes, then that's fine. But this is why it's important to tell people the coin that you're looking at, and images do a good idea. Nebraska.
It's no, it's in Nebraska. Okay, well, if it's a die chip, it could very well be a die chip over the designer's initials. I'm not. So until die chips become large enough to consider them die breaks, I think of die chips more along the lines of die stages, like it's a stage of a die, because it's kind of normal. The U.S. Mint will not pull a die because it has die chips. Sometimes they won't even pull one with large die breaks, but most of the time they won't pull one if it has little die chips. So if they consider it normal, then I consider it normal. If it's not outside of the U.S. Mint's tolerance,
it's the word
usually
I was about,
not considered an error.
That's the word I was just going for, was tolerance.
Yeah.
They have tolerances for all sorts of stuff, and
they do.
That's why these micro errors or these micro chips, they come up with fancy names, like the extra baggage on the wing of the Tuskegee, right? Now you want to talk about the big one, is the burning fire, right? You see that one where the building looks like it's grows, right? So that's, you see that giant.
That's a struck through,
right?
That's a struck through. The burning building one. The big die break is on the crown die break on the Washington crossing the Delaware. There's a big die break. It's an actual die break. It's not the tiny die chip, is not the crown die break, but Yeah. So now, if you like them, collect them. Ken Peavy had a coffee can behind him, and he saved every tiny dye chip he ever found. He just chucked it back
What a
into
lot
the
of
dye
people
into
do.
the can. Yeah, he's like, oh, that's really cool, and he'd stick it in his coffee can. So if you like them, collect them. I just don't want people to be under the impression that they have found something that's going to make them a ton of money, or so.
Well, here's what I always tell them when they ask. It might have a little bit of increased value, but it's not treasure.
It might. You have to find the right person.
But that's right. Even the BIEs, like I always tell them, there used to be a national club, and there was a guy that made a living off of them.
There was in California.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so there is. I mean, they're worth $1 or $2. They're not. It's not like a regular coin. There's a little bit of increased value, but the better it is, the more it's worth. I mean, so if you get a huge, we'll call it a die break, not a chip. Yeah. The bigger it is, the better it is.
That's right. That's right.
So the SOP for defective dies. There is a technical document that talks about what is and what isn't out of tolerance. I know they do it with weights. I don't know.
Greater than 3 millimeters is considered a die break.
And where would somebody find that information?
On Cuds on Coins is a good place.
On what?
Cuds on Coins.
Okay.
I believe it's greater than 3 millimeters is when it becomes considered a die break.
I know that there's a document 31 code US 5113. It's tolerance in the testing of coins, and that is for the metallurgical thing. But that's the metallurgical makeup. That tells you what the coin is made up of. If you want to go look at that again, here, let me put this in chat. I know that because I'm doing something on that.
It's and by the way, the new vintage figures are out, and they did the only denomination that they did not mint more of last month was the Kennedy $50.
And that they could be done with them.
Probably. They are well over $1 billion on the cents.
Yep.
$1.06 billion or something like that.
So we actually could have a bumper crop of cents this year.
Yeah.
And it's probably because people are saving them and sticking them in their closet, and the Fed Reserve has to keep asking for them.
Well, yeah, people keep saying, they keep saying, I haven't seen any in circulation yet or whatever. Well, they don't put them into circulation. It's an as-needed thing.
Right. And then, of course, if people are buying them and not circulating them, they need to make more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, people and people are buying them and paying whatever.
And that is actually what happened in the early 60s, why they quit the mint marks on the coins for this very reason.
Mm-hmm.
So people didn't want to hoard the coins because they didn't know. And
that's only 4 months. 4 months so far. Let's say January, February, March, April. Yeah. Wait, we're May now. Yeah. So 4 months, they have already minted.
Like I said, I think 2 billion.
Well over $1 billion.
2 billion would be over average for the last few years.
Yeah. They'll get there.
No, 2024D is not a key date.
No, they minted a bunch in 2024.
No, that whole thing, we've been saying that for months.
You may be thinking of the nickel, Joseph, and even that is you have to remember when you look at mintage numbers and stuff like that, you have to remember that it is supply and demand. And there are just not a lot of Jefferson nickel collectors out there.
Man.
and you know it's true. It's just not. It's a popular one, like for kids to collect and stuff, because it's an easy series to get the entire series for cheap. Like you can find the entire series other than the Civil War nickels, really, and you could still find those. But the rest of
couple of them. That's
the rest of the
50D,
series, you can find 50D, whatever, 55,
38S.
50D.
I think a 38S is.
You can still find them in circulation. You can
Sure.
find an entire series fairly easily in circulation. So it's a popular one among children and stuff, but it's just not a popular series. So even if they minted very few, you can still go and look at the mintage numbers for early 40s, early 50s. The mintage numbers, a couple of those years were fairly fairly small,
Yeah,
but you can still buy them for cheap.
Yeah,
so
50p, 51p, they're all lower mintages.
So don't go off of the hype, because just because something is a low mintage does not make it valuable.
Yeah,
people
and the variety collectors hate them because they go from early die state to late die state like
rapidly,
very fast.
I actually just bought a pretty late die state variety though from Art Rain on a nickel because I loved it so much.
It must be a more.
It was a D over S.
Yeah, it must be a major one.
It was a D. It was the D over S. But yeah, it was. But it's got the cool. It's got the cool orange peel texture. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I got a twofer. I got the overmint mark and an example of what real orange peel texture looks like.
And a lot of those nickels have that, the orange peel. Like I say, I just got a bunch of rolls, and it's like I opened them up. I was like, this is probably an RPM, and it's just like nobody's going to list it because it's like so late die state.
But I had a pretty long discussion, I'll call it, with somebody on Facebook a couple days ago about the 2025 cents. And there's still the rumor going around that this is the last year, they're not going to be making them anymore, blah, 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 blah.
And that's just misinformation.
And it is, but even if it were true, all you have to do is go back and look at some of the other countries that have discontinued the cent. And people say, well, they're like, well, if it is the last year, then they're going to eventually be pricey. Well, no, because you can still buy rolls of Canadian, 2012s?
Yep.
For really cheap. And that's the last year. So all you have to do is
long after we're gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just just be careful when you buy it.
You want to buy some and you want them for a good reason, buy it. Don't think you're going to get rich off of them. And unfortunately, that happens way too much in this hobby anyways, as people do it. They're looking for the lottery ticket, which is great. Hey, it's a fun thing to do. It's relaxing. Well, but don't put too much.
I just got a thing from a Gray Sheet. I got an email. You can buy one of the MS70 Gray Sheet special label Eagle Privy ASC for $350 or something. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Oh no, it's unreal. I already talked about that.
Did they not look at how that Star Privy did? Like that kind of tanked.
Well, you're going to see privies all over everything now that they're laser etching dies and stuff like that. You're going to see all sorts of weird privies.
But it's the second one, and there are a few people out there who, and again, you get.
I feel so bad for them.
What frustrates me about this is even people, and there's discussions. There may be people in chat who don't agree with this, and that's fine. If you want to spend $200 for a $40 coin, then you know what? It's on you, right? Mm-hmm. That's your call. If you want to spend $400 for a $80 coin, then it's on you. That's your call. What we try to do is we try to inform you to give you the best opportunity to make informed decisions. Now, right now, it's even within a year, okay, 2 years, whatnot, it may hold some semblance of its value, but it will come down. And the reason it's going to come down is because this game, number one, nobody's talking about the game. Go Google it. It doesn't It doesn't
Nope.
show up. It's never in
My
chat boards.
my grandkids don't know anything about that game.
The game isn't doing very well. There's no engagement in this particular thing. And it's just not one of these things that happens. But there are people who will do one or two things. Number one, right? This is where the Acadian comes in, and him showing this whatnot. This guy is showing, $55. It's all I'm asking for this coin. It's a $28 coin. Right. And oh my God, you guys, you're missing out on a deal. You can't, there's no way I'm letting this go. I'm pulling it. Right. And it's a total spin up. It's trying to get somebody to do this. And then the other ones, again, if you buy collectible pieces, okay, now we have a couple people in here that are artists. We have Angry Warrior, we have Kevin Rose, we have some of those people. When you buy art that has been poured, and you guys know I have quite a bit of this stuff. I enjoy the artistry of the fine art, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that this is something that you're buying and you're paying for the artist. If you get into a world of hurt, you're going to lose the money that you spend on that. Yeah. And you have to just accept that. And so if that's something you really want to do, then far be it. Then, okay, that's your choice. That's fine. But what we want to steer clear of is we want to have that level of integrity, right? Selling a $300 coin and it being worth
modern bullion
$40 bucks. Oh my God, look at this. Bullion. You got to check this out. Look at this mark, MS69. This is almost a perfect coin, folks. Like this is, you've got, and it's like, whoa. The 70 is 125, 140. Why is this one double? It's just because it's the eagle, right? They didn't even do a new design. They took the old micro design of the Sacagawea reverse. That's the reverse that was on the Sacagawea coin, right?
Well, Ant's correct. I mean, it's not really technically a privy because what does it commemorate? Unless they say it commemorates this new game or whatever, I don't know. But if you look at the definition of
they're just marks.
It's supposed to
now, I'll tell you the one, and I still haven't received anything on it. I don't believe I'm going to. But it's that one that Annex just screwed up on.
Oh God, the 40th anniversary.
The 40th anniversary, thing. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about there,
engraved. God, it's so stupid.
Let me pull that up.
And you know what? I think Frostbyte, I think the reason that I get so passionate about, these things is because I don't have a disposable income. So that's where my frame of thought comes from. I guess I'm part of the poor collector society. You know what I mean? Like, so I always factor in that part of the hobby. Like, do you really want to spend $300 on a modern bullion coin, or do you want to spend $300 on a key date that's, like I always have that way of thinking. So, I know there's people out there that do have more of a disposable income and it's more fun for them and they really don't care. Hey, I like it. I'm going to buy it. So I'm really not speaking for those people, I guess. But yeah, this one drives me absolutely bonkers. What is that price tag? Where is this from?
It's for 20 of them.
Oh, I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
But even that, holy mackerel.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Hey. Hold on.
Mike Noodle, welcome.
I want to ask you if this looks familiar. Just a second. I'm going to pull up that presentation. Does this coin look familiar to you?
privy marks don't just denote changes in weight and fineness, and privy marks are used to commemorate certain things or celebrate certain things. Yeah, they're not. So
Do you like this? Do you recognize this, Mike? I don't. You should. I think you wrote an article about it.
you
Your
sure
name.
it was him?
It's not struck through. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna have to go. I'll go
No,
down
it's
back
not
and double check it.
structure. It's damage.
It's a vice. It's a needle nose pliers.
Needle nose.
Anyway, yeah. So
It might not. It might have been a different Mike Nodelman.
maybe it is a different Mike. I'll have to check. But yeah, it's anyway, that was funny. But yeah, here's the here's that
Definitely
piece,
Washington
and this one again, MS70. And the issue that we have with this
It's
is
damage.
that this is post mint damage. This isn't something that was done. Show me a die at the U.S. Mint for this design at the mint that actually has that engraved into the die. And show me, because they would have had to, in order for this to be in use on the coin, it would have had to have been raised. And they're not making these laser engraved ones. We talked about this when it came to the flowing hair metal and the gold dollar that was issued, the gold coin that was issued. They were laser engraved. And in order for
Well,
this
it even
to be,
says private privy.
yeah, but in order for this to be in use on the coin means it would have had to have been raised on the die. So that means that this entire thing would have had to have been laser engraved. All of that would have had to have been cut out by laser in order for that to have been done. So if you look at this particular coin, I'm going to click on it here so you can see this. All of this would have had to be in use on the die, and this would have had to have been raised. Show me that die. We know that that's not the case. So this happened post mint, right? And so
Now, you are going to get people. I have had discussions with people, and they're not wrong on how they are grading elongated cents or elongated coins. And those are damaged coins. I mean, there's no way of getting around that. However, none of those are mint state 70s. They don't grade them all. There's only certain ones that they grade that are of historical value. Same with like chop marks. They'll grade chop marked coins up until it actually like completely like you can't tell what the coin is anymore, or it's like, you know, that they're very selective on the chop marked coins that they will grade.
And that's something over the years they've kind of changed their stance too. I can remember them grading stuff, and I think it actually depends on the chop marks now.
It depends on the chop marks, and it depends on how much of them, how many of them are, and how badly it affects the coin. Can the coin
and
even
if you
still be
want to get to
graded?
the bottom line of this, a chop mark is damage, right?
Well, it is.
It's
It
damage.
is.
But when you look at the historical reasoning behind the chop marks, again, you're talking about 1800s. They were testing the authenticity of the metals, right?
That, or they were doing that, or they were putting a mark on it. So if that coin ever come back to them as a vendor, they knew it was real and they would take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an identifying thing also.
Yeah, so there were a number of reasons for that. And again, when you talk about the historical precedent or the historical context of a coin, that all plays into account. Now, it's still damage. I mean, technically, it's still damage. So should they grade chop mark coins?
It used to be a crapshoot. I can remember sending them in back in the early 2000s.
It still is, I think.
And you'd get it back, and it would say it was graded with a chop mark, and then you'd get one in a body bag because it had a chop mark.
So, yeah,
I still think it is.
But this one is again, the MS70 for this particular thing, it just like, you know, and I've reached out to them and they have not responded.
No, they haven't me either. They haven't responded to me either.
So,
you know, and I mean, this is obviously a marketing ploy. Like that, there's no two ways of getting about it. Like, I mean, I think there's some world coins that are like have merchant stamps and things like that, but there's like historical meaning to those, and there's historical value. And I think that they actually grade the chop mark as like they actually grade the chop mark itself too. I think I read a little bit about it because I was trying to. It's not like I can see the point of people that are arguing that point. So it's really not something that I can logically argue with somebody about, because they're right. Like they do grade chop marked coins, and they grade elongated cents, and you know, all kinds of stuff. But overstrikes, things like that. Like there's overstruck things from world coins that are overstruck. I looked a little bit into that. I didn't even know that those existed, and those are damaged coins. But yeah, for some reason, this just is. It's like apples and oranges to me. I don't know. It just doesn't. It's opening up a can of worms. It doesn't need to be opened. They grade the bottom line with me is that they graded that a perfect. It's tough to get a perfect coin on a perfect grade on a perfect coin, period.
Especially when
they graded that a perfect. Yeah, and they graded it a perfect. Anyway, okay, I digress. I don't want to go on and on because some people say I ramble.
well, yeah, but again, this is one of those things where we see the opportunity for integrity, right? And in my opinion, this becomes an integrity piece where the company should say, yes, I understand that you want to pay us for this, but it's not feasible. I don't think that it's something that should be good. I don't think it's something that should be utilized. I don't think that Annex should have done this. I think this is a shame on Annex. I just don't. I just don't agree with it. And I've told. Sometimes you have to stand by.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
please
do. Frosty, do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Please do.
Make your own shameless plug,
I've been
man.
putting that all over Facebook, so I'm so excited.
Is there something happening tonight?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
He's doing it. They're doing their interview with the gal that modeled for the Sacagawea.
Oh, is that a big deal?
I think is her
Teeter.
I'm just kidding, Mike. Mike's like, you suck. No, absolutely.
I do have a homework assignment for you though, Frostbyte, if you want it. If you choose to accept it.
If you choose to accept it.
And that's mainly because I don't want to do the research.
Yeah, send it to me. Oh, we'll talk about it.
Research, I'll tell you.
Mike, put your link in there. Absolutely. Fire away. Yes. Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun. I have to give you a little bit of grief. I know what he's doing.
Super excited about that.
Yeah, I'll put it on my YouTube, and I'll put it on my community page. But yeah, post that link in there.
Yeah, it's on ours too, on the Q&A Facebook, Coin Q&A Facebook. It's on there too, but it's on their Friends of the Coin Show podcast. It's on Coin Show podcast. It's on our oh my gosh, I can't think it. Our Coin Collectors Club. Yeah, Coins Club. We're not really, as a club, we kind of suck. But I love it because it's the only coin club I belong to, and I don't have to go to meetings. Coins Club, yeah, it's all over the place. So it's going to be super exciting to watch that.
Very cool.
I got to take off. I got a dog calling me.
Oh.
Yeah, no worries.
Bye, Eric.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow morning, everyone.
Hope your dog's doing well. We'll talk to you later.
you want to know what your homework is?
What is my homework?
I want you to do some research into what I was talking about. The world coins that are overstruck with other coins because they didn't have mints of their own. So look into that. I'll send you a little bit of information that I have about it, but I would love to know more information about it. Mike might be able to help you. He might know about it. You know what I'm talking about, Mike, right? The world coins that didn't that they
I know that Chuck has a few of them.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah, he actually identified one that was really neat.
Yeah,
which
Mike
was,
knows.
Yeah. So yeah, I can do some research.
I would love to know more information about that. I just don't have time to do the research on it, and I know you like that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Well, they're not really Condor tokens. So I know about Condor tokens. I have those. Not where they used. Oh, I'm trying to.
You want me to pull up an example of one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a few Condor tokens. I love Condor tokens. Those are kind of more along the like merchant token lines, like I think. I know it's the only, I'm wearing it, Mike. Can't you tell? I wore it on my interview with Greg Bennick. Did you watch the interview with Greg Bennick? What a nice guy he is. I'm going to call him today. We're going to have a chitty chat. I wore it the whole interview. I wore my Kaneka shirt and my coin, my ancient coin podcast with Aaron Burke and Mike Nodelman on the side, like a side of fries. I know, Annex. It's very disappointing, Washington State Jags fan. Very disappointing in that. Just because, and a lot of it is the way it's being marketed too. It's such a, I don't know if I want to call it a scam, because I guess it's not really a scam, but the wording in the marketing is just ridiculous. 275,000 subscribers. Aaron has that? God, if we could just get a fraction of that. Can you imagine the damage I could do?
Dump.
Holy cow, that's awesome.
Here's one.
I love that. I love seeing good people succeed like that. That's so awesome.
So this is one of the overstruck. This is from Omni World Coin. You can see the design elements of the other coin here, 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 and then the little marks on the back. But I can do some research into this. I've looked a couple of them up, but
I'll send you the information that I have.
There's other ones.
I'll send you the information that I have on them.
Okay.
But typically they were done by countries that did not have mints of their own. So they took coins and they put markings of their own on the coins to, I guess.
So this is a Brazilian coin struck over a Spanish real.
I'm not sure that that's the same thing I'm talking about, but I'll send it to you. I'll send you, yeah.
Okay.
You'll see. When I send you the information, you'll be like, oh, that's really cool. Michael Kittle told me about him, so.
Yeah, give me more information and I'll pull them up and I'll do some research and see what I can figure out.
I love tokens, Joseph. I do. I love tokens. Was the host coin US? I think that there were other host coins besides just US, but yeah, like I said, I didn't do a whole lot of research into it. It was Michael Kittle's fault because he brought those up. He was playing devil's advocate on things that our mints our grading companies have graded in the past that are technically damaged coins. He likes to, and I love that too, because I like to argue stuff and, debate. So he brought that, I know he brought that up, and then we had a little debate. You might have seen it if you saw my post on our Coin Q&A Facebook group. You might have seen the little back and forth that him and I had. But I did very little research, just enough to argue with them about it.
So are you talking about ones that the US have struck because like we minted things like the centavos? So you're talking about a coin that
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. No, I'll send it to you. I know.
Because there's a really cool one.
I just did enough just to argue with him. That's all.
There's a really cool one. This one was really neat. Just saw this one. This is a penny struck on a centavo.
Yes. Still has the little scalloped edges. I like that one. Yeah.
So this kind of stuff is really cool. Too bad that's not an 82 small date Denver. Sorry, that's just a bad
Some
joke.
shenanigans, I'm thinking.
Maybe. But yeah,
Maybe.
it's so this kind of stuff is pretty cool. There's different ones.
It is cool. That one's more believable.
Stuck on an Argentinian planchet.
Yes, that one's more believable because I do believe at that time we were still minting coins for them.
Yeah.
So I think the ones where we were still minting coinage for those countries and we accidentally struck one of our coins on their planchets. Those I believe those are more I buy into those. I don't buy into the stuff that like the 70s proof $50 overstruck on a Canadian or whatever proof quarters overstruck on a Canadian. I don't buy into that, but those are Mike Byers specials. Mike knows what I'm talking about. The Mike Byers specials. They are kind of cool, but I don't think if there is human intervention, intentional human intervention, I don't consider those minting errors. They are novelty coins, and they're illegal. I'll bring that up.
Well, yeah, and that's something that we've talked about before. Any coin that's not part of the law governing the mintage of coins that is produced is an illegal coin. They're not authorized for release. And this is one reason that the mint is cracking down and implemented the one that I did regarding the image capture of the die between each strike was specifically done for that purpose. And it's to say that, hey, we can account for every coin struck at the mint that it was struck, properly. If you don't have an image and a change of dies, then it's been manufactured, right?
Right.
And so definitely something that, and a lot of people don't realize that, but yeah, that's all. It's illegal to own many of those coins.
Yep.
Which it makes me wonder why some people are able to keep them and other ones aren't.
Well, if they truly, so there is a story, and I don't know the entire story by heart, but I've read it a few times about former mint employees that had intentional things like that in their safes, and then they passed away and their families found all of these minting errors. And then I think there's also been some former mint employees that actually have been prosecuted.
Oh, there was one
for shenanigans.
2012, I think $3 million worth
Yeah,
of
something like
coins.
that. Mm-hmm.
The gentleman was arrested and
Yeah.
he got massive fines, spent time in jail.
It is illegal to own Cuban and Russian coins. It's illegal to own Cuban and Russian coins. Is
It's
it
not illegal to own them. It's
them?
illegal to resell them.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. Is it illegal to own them, or is it illegal?
It's not
to
illegal
sell
to
them?
own them. It's illegal to resell them.
Yeah.
If you got them through proper channels, and sometimes we talk about precedence of coins or precedence of things. You have to have the precedent. But if you have one, let's say that you had a family member that spent time in Cuba, they came back and they have some from the 50s, 60s. If you can document that they were there, it's a different story. But if you're selling them or you put them on there and you tell people that you're selling them or you have the intent to sell them, then you can get into a lot of trouble for that.
Well, it's like so that's where information gets like mixed up and you know, and I'm not saying where bad information gets spread or whatever, but there's a certain big YouTube channel that's popular that likes to tell people it's illegal to own counterfeit coins or to buy counterfeit coins. It actually is not illegal to buy them or own them or sell them. It all depends on your intent. If you are buying, or if you are selling them as something that they are not, as anything other than counterfeit coins, or if you are buying them as anything other than counterfeit coins, then that's where you get to the intent. Somebody is intending to defraud someone. That's where it becomes illegal. And all you have to do is look at Henning nickels. They are absolutely not illegal to buy, sell, or own.
You just can't.
You buy, sell, and own them as exactly what they are. They are Henning nickels, and they are counterfeit nickels.
Mike says
they are not illegal to buy, sell, or own. So there's that.
Mike doesn't agree
Where
with you.
is it? Well, he can go, then he needs to go argue with all of the people that buy, sell, and own Henning nickels or racketeer nickels, any of those, right? Now, Henning nickels are a better example because Henning nickels are true counterfeit coins. They are not at all genuine. Racketeer nickels are a genuine coin that have been gold plated or whatever and passed off. They are an altered coin. They're not truly a counterfeit. Henning nickels are a true counterfeit. Talk to Jack Young too, Mike. He's done a little bit of work with that too. Who said that if she showed him some, that what he was duty bound to confiscate and arrest? And probably because that was part of a counterfeiting ring where people were making them with the intent to deceive. There was probably, they could prove intent there. So I think it all comes down to intent. That's why it's so hard to prosecute people when they sell counterfeit coins, because all they have to do is tell someone, I didn't know it was counterfeit. I bought it from someone else. So where at that point, where does the illegality come in? Where does the intent come in? Who has the intent? Where is the intent? But Henning nickels, they're, Yeah. I don't think that you can show, other than Henning himself, one person that has ever been arrested for owning, buying, or selling a Henning nickel. There's an open market for them, right? And they are a true counterfeit coin.
Yeah, I think that, and again, sticky. I think that's the key word. Because there are, and I'm looking at Secret Service website right now, trying to find the language. I know that it's 18 USC 4 something. I don't remember if it's 463, 471, 458.
One
I
way
think
people get
it's
around it, Frostbyte, think about this. One way people get around it is they stamp copy into it. It is still the same counterfeit coin. It just has copy stamped into it, because that's how you know they have no intent to defraud. Right?
yeah.
Or they'll put a date on it. They'll put a date on it that those coins were never minted in those dates.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the USC, and it's USC 471, the thing that comes up all the time is that intent to defraud, intent to defraud, intent to defraud, intent to defraud. And so
Right.
it's illegal to make those, to do that. It's illegal to do those. And another thing that states here is, in order for a federal prosecutor to obtain a conviction for counterfeiting in the United States, they must be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you had in possession with a specific intent to defraud. So they cannot prosecute you for owning one, especially if you're utilizing it for education. If you are utilizing it to make others and you're distributing that, or you try to distribute one as authentic. Now, it's also illegal to distribute a fake Henning counterfeit as authentic. That is intent to deceive. That is intent to defraud. And so it's a very sticky situation. Now, with Mike's statement, no, but that's where the lawyers and that stuff are
only
yeah.
if you can prove intent.
Yeah, but that's the legal system has to prove that. So,
but I can sell you a counterfeit and tell you this is a counterfeit. I can sell it to you and you can buy it as a counterfeit, and there's no intent to defraud there. There's nothing illegal about that. Right? Because I have told you exactly what it is. It's a counterfeit coin. You bought it for exactly what it is, a counterfeit coin. And the law is pretty clearly stated that there has to be intent. I don't think that there's any, I don't think that the way it's written, it's not open for interpretation.
I'm going to pull up, it's
now,
still
I'm not
sticky.
a lawyer,
Yeah,
so I could be wrong. But
I agree.
If you read it, yeah, it could be if they could. I mean, I suppose it could be if they could. I don't know how they would prove that there was any malintent, if that's a word. I might be making it up.
If you guys, and again, I've done this before, lawyers.
Yeah, lawyers, and I'm not.
But again, they're going to have to prove intent. But one thing that I do want to pull up is we have certain protections in place. 1873, the Coin Act was created. The reason that the Coin Act of 1873 was created was to protect merchants and people from fraud. 100 years later, there was another one in 1973 that was called the Hobby Protection Act. And it was amended by the Coin Protection Act that was done in, I think it's 2013, 2014, 2015. 2013, 2014. I can't remember which one. The public law was, I'd have to look it up. I don't remember the number. I want to say it's 39, 167, 93, 167, 67, 193. It's got those numbers in it, but I can't remember which one it is. And what it says is you have to have something marked as copy. You have to have something to indicate that that coin is, in order to maintain that, whether it be coin or other numismatic items, you have to have that put into the coin. It has to be plain and permanently marked. Otherwise, quote unquote, it is unlawful to practice commerce with that particular coin, meaning you can't sell or trade it. Okay. And so now, when you're talking about practicing commerce, I don't take that as, hey, I've got this here, right? We've talked about this because I utilize this for teaching. I purchased this. This is one that it's definitely a fake dollar, and then trade dollar. And then on the edge, right, is where the copy is located. I didn't put it on the face or the reverse because I didn't want to jack with the markers and to show people what the coin looks like. I just did that for my own. And then I have other ones. Now, this is something that I think is funny. Somebody sent me this and they wrote fake on the label. That doesn't help. Somebody can pop this out of the label. Now, there's a little C that is put right above, it's actually scratched into the coin. It says copy. It's actually being scratched in, just above the shield. I don't know if you can see that. You see where it says scratched in? It says copy. Right? And so mine are marked, right? Now I have, I'm trying to get a nice copy stamp where I can mark the edge of the coin so that it's not defacing the image, because the images are really important for educational purposes. But the Hobby Protection Act put some things into place that said, hey, if you really want to safeguard yourself, it's better that you put some sort of copy or counterfeit or replica or something on the coin to make sure people know that it's not an authentic one.
How would you feel about your favorite thing, one of your bucket listers, an Omega counterfeit? Would you think it was as special if it had copy stamped on it?
I wouldn't buy one.
Right.
Period. End of story. I wouldn't spend the money to do that. I
wouldn't buy a Henning nickel if it had copy stamped on it.
Because the entire thing behind this was that this is a known counterfeit. It's the story behind it that is the piece, right? Show people it's the educational piece. I absolutely wouldn't purchase one if it had copy on it. I'm not spending $2,000 for a coin.
I saw that, Mike.
Yeah, just not doing that. And that's good. I'm glad that they were doing that. That's a good thing to do.
I think they were offering to do it for people too, to stamp copy on their counterfeits, having people bring in their counterfeits and having people stop. I saw John Sullivan say something about he was going to start stamping his. I think that's who I saw, but
yeah. Anyway. So it'd be really important.
No, it's an interesting conversation.
I might actually, and I've already actually, let me show you. I need to make sure I'm not sharing my screen when I do this.
It is an interesting conversation.
I've actually reached out.
Can I just bring up real quick, if you guys want, please go, all of you guys, please go subscribe to the Newman Numismatic Portal YouTube channel. The new symposiums that were done at Central States are up now. They're published. And Mike Noodle has one on there. Mike Nautilin has his on podcast. Russ Vega has one on tokens, I think, or exonumia. And Greg Bennick has a great one on minting errors. So, and there's several other people that did them too. Go check those out. They are worth watching for sure. Lebanese.
Oh, here, I'm going to show you guys.
Like, I don't know anything about those.
I'm going to share this with you guys because I want you to see this as well. I just need to make sure that there's no. All right. this is something that I've done. So this is something I actually reached out to the Secret Service under the USS Media inquiry of them to ask, hey, I want to do some things on various Chinese fakes and other bills. And I reached out to the Secret Service indicating, hey, I would like to have a counterfeit set for education. Is there a way that I can buy or register for one of these? So when, and I haven't heard anything back yet, it's only been a week or so. But when I hear back, I'm going to ask them point blank, is there something that I can do to identify, or is there something that I can do to make sure that, you know, I'm one, staying within the confines of the law, but number two, it's extremely important as a numismatic channel to talk about that. So I want to make sure that I do that.
Yep. I will for sure, Mike. I will for sure. Link. If somebody can somebody go grab the link to the Newman Numismatic Portal YouTube channel? It's a great channel, you guys, too. They have some old interviews from some of the old time collectors and stuff that are just fantastic to watch.
There's the link.
I'm looking forward to Russ's because I wrote the time. I forgot about the time zone changes and I wrote the time wrong and I missed his by like an hour. And because I usually watch those live when they're actually doing them. But I did get to see Mike's and I got to see Russ. I got to see part of Mike's. Yeah, I didn't get to see the end. So I'm looking forward to going back and watching the end of that. And I got to see my Greg Bennick's on minting errors.
Yeah, I didn't. I got to watch very
good, Mike.
I got to see the end of it. I didn't get to see the whole thing.
I got to see the beginning, not the end. But yeah, it was what I saw was very good. There was one channel that I wished you would have mentioned.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We'll talk more about it later. But yeah,
but
yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be looked at, and
it was good. You got 0 feedback. I thought maybe I didn't give feedback. I might not have given any on. Oh, probably because I didn't finish it, Mike.
Well, you know what? No, that's not true because I, at the very beginning onset, I put in there that number one, I would like to thank the numismatic portal for, personally. Yeah, because I actually put it straight into the thing that was there and said, number one, I want to appreciate or thank Mike for being the closer on this and for coming and talking about a very important topic. But I think the panel for putting some amazing topics together. So
I thought I wrote it. I thought I messaged you, Mike. I'm pretty sure I sent you a message.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't read it.
You couldn't see the comments. Okay. Well, I was assuming that you would get feedback from them. So otherwise I would have reached out to you directly. So I think the conversation was good. The topic was good. It needed to be discussed.
My feedback thing always comes at the end of the lecture, and I lost my internet, so I didn't get to see the end of it. So I didn't get a thing for feedback. I gave Russ feedback and Greg. I always give feedback on those.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure why you didn't get it. I put mine in at the very beginning. It was more comments. So, but
yeah, no, they always ask how did you enjoy this or whatever it says, and then it gives you an opportunity to go in and give feedback. But
yeah, and I didn't get to see the end because we were going to my
that is important, Mike.
We had dinner with some friends that we were going to. My wife made me.
No, I know you messaged me. You're like, how was it? Did you? And I'm like, no, I didn't get to see the end of it.
Yeah, I got to see the first 20 minutes of it. I didn't get to see or 15 minutes of it. You get to see the rest. But
we probably both saw what the other one.
Yeah. But it was really good. I asked her, I said, did he talk about some very specific items? And she was like, no. So I'll go back and review it. I'll provide you some feedback.
I don't know. He may have. I have to finish watching it. So he may have. Anyway.
Well, hey, folks, it's well over my normal time.
Sorry, I rambled.
No, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you all being on for such a long time. I am going to go on tomorrow. It is going to be Mother's Day. It'll probably be a little short in duration. Obviously, I want to be spending time with my wife and stuff like that. So the link to the numismatic portal. Oh, the link for tonight. Hold on just a sec.
We're not celebrating it this year here.
What is
Please put up the link. Yeah, it's on the Coin Show podcast. If you guys are not subscribed to the Coin Show podcast, please go subscribe to those guys. Click the notification bell so you get notified when they go live. I love those guys. They're so much fun. It's just a fun show to watch too.
So there's the live stream that's scheduled for tonight. Make sure you subscribe. And if you're in chat and this is the first time that you're seeing them, do me a favor. Let them know that you came from here, right? Mike's in chat. He knows that I support their channel. And Mike and Matt are extremely good folks. They really are knowledgeable. Between them, they have to have like 200 years experience. Because if you've seen them, they're both old as dirt. But I'm just kidding, brother.
Stop it. Mike's my age.
Oh, well, okay. Anyway.
Your point exactly.
Yeah, I just proved it. No, but there's tons of information there. And again, when you look at the quality of conversations that are had, you look at the quality of interviews that they get. There's a lot of really neat discussions that's had on that site. So go check them out. And again, please make sure you let them know. And he knows that I support his channel, but do it in there so other people can see that other channels are supporting the content. So please let them know that, Frosty Raid or whatever you want. All right, folks. Well, Paula, thanks so much for hanging up here today and for doing this.
Have a great day. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for having me up again.
Thanks, Paula.
Sorry if I'm
love you
over the chat. Bye, guys.
Yoxnav said he subbed and set notification. That's beautiful. Thanks so much for doing that. Again, if you guys like this, put something in chat. Let me know. And I will continue to do stuff like this. Obviously, I only set this up for a portion of this, not the whole screen. But if you like this, let me know. And we'll do more stuff like this. I want to do more hands-on, give you guys opportunities to actually look at some of these things and dig in and find solutions. Because again, education is only education if you're given the opportunity. And every one of you has the capability to become an amazing collector and really impact the hobby. Whether we do it one person or 100,000 people at a time, one person can make a change. And so that's my goal, is to make the change for one person. If that helps you, then outstanding. That's what we're here for, and we've done that. So do me a favor, make sure you like this on your way out. I appreciate you guys for being here, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care, be well blessed. Try that again. Take care, be blessed.